Foreign policy, imperialism, and being the policeman of the world. The debate between Scott Horton and Bill Kristol is enough for this article. But I decided I wanted to point in reference to many other articles. U.S. has killed more than 20 million people in 37 victim nations since World War II. Our foreign policy after the War of 1812 was based on lies, largely based on lies, and was not meant to protect and defend America, but rather benefit big banks, the military-industrial complex, Israel, and Saudi Arabia. All wars are bankers' wars. How they bleep the military-industrial complex. How they bleep you. And revolving door of the Department of Defense. Why are we at war in Syria? Syria, what is really going on and why? Okay. All this stuff will be linked in both the description and the article. As for Afghanistan, it's mainly for control over an oil pipeline and to control opium trade, the latter of which the Central Intelligence Agency needs to get extra money to fund black operations without needing to ask Congress. Do you realize how much governments lied to us to go to war? James Corbett of Corbett Report and Ryan Dawson of the Anti-Neocon Report have both done awesome videos on this issue, such as on 100 Years of War Lies Debunked, debunking a century of war lies as being short videos. Long videos are histories written by the winners, decades of deception. As for Saddam Hussein, he was actually our ally before the end of the 1980s, or beginning in the 1990s against Iran. We supplied him with weapons, even chemical weapons, for war against Iran, and that he started. As for Syria, it was becoming more democratic since the late 2000s before the war. As for World War II, we could have avoided the rise of Nazi Germany if the Allies did not punish Germany so harshly. If it wasn't for the Treaty of Versailles, with strict military limitations and even more so, the war reparations, taking money from Germany, and the occupation and taking of German territory, people would not have become so bitter, resentful, and angry to the point where they would do almost anything to feel strong again, playing right into the hands of extreme ideologies such as fascism and National Socialism. This is conveniently glossed over or completely left out a narrative of how the Nazis rose to power. World War II is not a good war. It's a war between power-hungry governments. I am not in any way, shape, or form attempting to justify, excuse, and or downplay human rights violations by the Axis powers. Look into the works of the author and historian Tom Goodrich, who has written about the human rights atrocities committed by the Allies during World War II. Trust me, it is far worse than you think. As to why he doesn't write about Axis human rights abuses, they're already well known and talked about to the point where it would be redundant for him to talk about it. Here's a couple of talks between Goodrich and Dawson. Tom Goodrich and Ryan Dawson. Documentary Hellstorm. Video, Why Post-War Germany and Japan Doesn't Prove It's Easy to Spread Democracy. Non-interventionism is not the same as isolationism. Non-interventionism means that we do not get involved in the affairs of foreign countries, especially if they don't affect us, which is different from isolationism, which is abstaining from having relationships with foreign countries. As for humanitarian interventionism, there is no real incentive for a government to seriously care about people living in foreign countries, let alone whether or not it can actually fix the problems of foreign countries. People living under terrible governments today must find freedom on their own. We can't make a people free if they aren't ready for it. That's how many places in Latin America have gotten away from being dictatorships. Also, well, trading with countries, improving their and our living standards, can also prevent wars. Look up capitalist peace. I was a junior reserve officer training corps cadet, something I shouldn't even be mentioning out of professionalism. I know a lot of people from the unit that I was in who joined the United States military. I don't want them to need to go to an unnecessary war, worrying rather not they'll come back alive, worrying about if they come back alive, if they'll get any permanent injuries, worrying about if they'll come back with a mental disorder, i.e. PTSD, that they may have to live with for the rest of their lives for some war they didn't even understand because the government that hired them didn't have the courtesy to be honest about what they're doing and why they're doing what they are doing. I recommend the documentary The Empire Unmasked, which you can buy for $20, I believe. Same with Sydney Talk, War Architects and Profiteers. To wrap this up, I'd like you to know how much war is hurting your wallet. The U.S. spent $5.6 trillion on wars in the Middle East and Asia, according to a study. Regime change is always a mistake. Syria 6. Is humanitarian interventionism a good idea? Regime change is always a mistake by More Freedom Foundation. Is humanitarian interventionism a good idea by Tom Woods? If you agree with this message, please go to antiwar.substack.com/p/sources is for more sources, along with links to articles and videos to oppose war and support world peace. Here's my social media link tree, which I ask that you keep archive. You keep the link and archive my content, and please, to make sure that YouTube, Google does not monetize this video.
Listen, you son of a bitch. What the fuck's your problem? You want to sit here and say that I'm a goddamn fucking Russian? You get in my face with that, I'll beat your goddamn ass, you son of a bitch. You piece of shit. You fucking goddamn fucker. Listen, fuckhead, you have fucking crossed the line. Get that through your goddamn fucking head. Stop pushing your shit. You're the people that have fucked this country over and gang raped the shit out of it and lost an election. So stop shooting your mouth off claiming I'm the enemy. You got that, you goddamn son of a bitch? Fill your hand. I'm sorry, but I'm done. You start calling me a foreign agent, those are fucking fighting words. Excuse me.
Because as Google does not believe in free speech, along with its ties to BlackRock and Oracle. Oracle collects data mines info on billions of people, and BlackRock is crushing small businesses. Is to try to create a monopoly for itself. I don't want to give Google ad revenue.